difficulty. Audio. Test, test, test. Audio's coming through. Stuff in order. Sorry for that. I thought I had it all set up, but I technical. Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. On, two. And all the chats are refreshed. TikTok right away. Hey, Atlam, thank you. Thank you, thank you. Solid 10, welcome back. Let's see here. We've got Twitch, and we've got TikTok. Waiting for the Steam feed. But yeah, at least for now we're kind of on the right track. Let me flip over the feed to live feed. 1 second, actually, let me check. Okay, Mapmaker Monday, Mapmaker. We're good. Okay. I thought I set them all to Mapmaker Monday tiles this morning before I started, but I guess I didn't save one of the scenes. Basically, every stream I flip it to a new set of tiles that are like production tiles for that stream. MacFacts. How's everyone doing today? Good, I hope. Consummate Nerd, welcome back. Mike Michelle Welch, welcome back. Welcome back. Always good to have familiar faces in chat. So, for those just tuning in and haven't been following Mapmaker Monday or aren't familiar with our streams, maybe you're new to our community, this is the first time you've caught us and you're like, what am I watching? Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making program that is available on Steam, and as you can see it in front of you, it is a very versatile tool that allows you to build very detailed, intricate maps, and you can then export those maps for print, export as a video for TV tabletops or a JPEG, etc. You can also export for virtual tabletops, such as Foundry, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, and above VTT. Today's stream is a showcase on building a map in Dungeon Alchemist. So it shows you how I approach things as a long-time map maker. I have about 2,900 hours of time in DA, so a little scatterbrained at times, but it's also a fun way to learn from somebody who has a good workflow, understands the program's nuances inside and out. Also, as the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist, and this being the official channel for Dungeon Alchemist, it's a great place to ask questions, share feedback and suggestions, and learn in real time from one of the staff members. So I just want to welcome you all and say hello. My name is Mac. It's nice to meet you if you're new here. Hello, Anchor. And for those of you that aren't new, my repeat cartographers, I should say, welcome back. Really do appreciate the continued support. Oh shoot, TikTok. Hey, Ricky Chan, thank you so much for the support. I appreciate the love. Is there any maps in particular that's your favorites? So Ricky asks over on TikTok if there is any talk of a fog of war system. That's a good question. So the devs have stated that after we leave early access, and that's when we leave early access is basically when we go full release is once we've delivered on all our remaining stretch goals. So we have 5 stretch goals remaining at this point. One of them will be releasing in the next probably 3 months, 3-4 months. The next one's called Fun with Objects. And then after that, in no particular order, we have Tricks and Traps, Water Worlds, High Seas, and Instant Dungeons. So after all those remaining Kickstarter promises are delivered on, then, and only then, will we kind of start focusing on big feature creep things or things that we didn't really plan on. So there has been some talk about VTT light features such as Fog of War, possibly even dice rolling, limited play support for like in-person play. I don't know about online, but there at least is some talk about in-person. So it would be optimal for like a TV tabletop or something like that. Solid 10 D&D, thank you for the follow over on TikTok. I don't know for sure, but I'm just going to double check. You might have actually pushed us over the limit there. We just hit 9K, thank you to you. We're over 9,000! Anyway, just got to say that every time it happens. So, that's actually a big milestone for TikTok. I'll be honest, we were a little bit in a kind of like a algorithmic dead zone after I came back from break, and our TikToks haven't been doing as well as they were before. So it's like it's not rewarding to take a vacation and come back, and now all the work is undone. So I gotta redouble my efforts, so to speak, try and get some more fire content. Ricky, thank you for the share, and also thank you for all the likes over there, TikTok. Much appreciated. Hey, Lord Rev, what up? Yeah, I need to start, also just, I've been taking advantage of the fact that you can post photos now to TikTok, so that's kind of nice. I'm getting used to that feature. And then I'm going to be posting at least a video every week there, plus our streams there. So, I mean, probably between the streams and the video and all the posts, it's like 10 to 15 posts a week on TikTok. Hoping that'll help. Kaiser, how you doing, by the way? Welcome back. Longest 3 months. It's going to be a grueling 3 months. Myself, I will be very, very busy, testing and shooting content, including the new trailer, teaser streams, teaser posts, stuff like that. It's honestly, I mean, that's why they pay me the big bucks, huh? Mondu. Appreciate it, Lord Rev. How you doing, by the way? We got chat all over the place. All major platforms right now are looking very active. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. It seems like Mapmaker Monday is the weekly favorite. Am I wrong in this, that more people attend Mapmaker Monday than most our other streams? David Larson, welcome back. Good morning to you. So, you love this new damn challenge? Awesome. I am great. Thank you for asking. I've been planning for a one-shot. So my wife, my son, and myself, and then a couple of my good friends, are getting together as a group, and we're gonna have a one-shot with a professional GM that is gonna host and take care of everything. So we just got to show up and play, really. Hey, Ricky, welcome back, buddy. How you doing? What you been up to, my friend? How's your mapping going? And honestly, I am so excited. I've got my character mostly fleshed out, just doing the finishing touches on my character sheet and stuff. Very excited to play. I've been building a little halfling wizard. Well, it's a multi-class technically. So I started as an artificer, which part of my backstory, my family is like alchemists, and so there's like a bit of like artifice in my blood, like in my family blood and my lineage. But I had a more distinct talent. This player character, had a more distinct talent for divination, and decided to follow the path of divination wizard. So 1 level dip into artificer, and then 2 levels into wizard. Okay, David, we could talk about that a little bit. 1 moment. Let me save this. So, one thing I will tell you, when you're doing castle walls, it's probably not best to really, like, if you're doing, like, exterior walls that are, like, the barricades of your building, you know what I mean? The exterior, like, thick walls, you don't want to use these rooms. These rooms are meant for, like, interior buildings, so the inside of the castle, not, like, the exterior, walls, defenses, city walls, etc. So I just want to make a distinction really quickly before we jump into that. Are you looking to structure the actual castle itself, or are you looking to structure the actual castle's like exterior and defenses? Because you were talking about towers and stuff, and I just want to make sure. Are these guard towers? Are these towers in the castle, etc.? Yeah, the room tool is ideal for small rooms. What, David? I'm so confused. So under objects, under structural, you have an assortment of walls, freestanding walls. So these freestanding walls can be rotated at any angle, right? But they're not really thick by any means. They're not really defensive walls. You also have these stone platforms, right? These ones are usually the typical, like, working on a structure type, like a castle wall or an exterior structure of any kind. If this ground was flat, it'd be a much better demonstration. 1 second, let me just try and flatten this all to one height so you can see what I'm talking about. So we take this object, right, and it can snap, it can rotate freely if you want it to, and it can duplicate. So I guess I'll just go along the snapping point at once, and I could just build a really quick wall. This is already 5 feet thick and 10 feet high, or maybe 15 feet high. No, it's 10 feet. Now we're 20 feet. I'm just holding shift and control so it snaps, and now I'm making backing for the wall. If this was all flat, it'd be much, more uniform. Alternatively, if the ground isn't flat and you want to have the dirt like seam up to it, you can just lower it into the ground a little bit, and then anyone you duplicate off of that will automatically also be that height. So if there was a snap point there, that one's just duplicated off of this. But you see what I'm doing here? So it's kind of sunk into the ground. The dirt is encapsulated around it, at least on this side. It will duplicate off of where you lowered it to or raised it to. To be honest, David, I'm kind of flying blind here. It would help if I had some imagery. Are you willing to post, spin up a thread in our Discord where we could see some images, or maybe even have the map to look at? But, yeah, so throughout the stream today, we'll be focusing on this build where I am building little bits of this map at a time each week. This map in question is a massive map. It's 82 by 82, and it is a cemetery that has been essentially slowly kind of sprawled out over time. I wanted to kind of indicate that by having some areas seem more like run down and generic, and other areas more fancy, and then, you know, the size and the scope of it. Then also decorating various aspects to make them feel more, you know, ancient or old, like the ivy that we put all over here. The well-maintained garden implies that, you know, someone's been here a while taking care of it. Lots and lots of graves and well-maintained property, etc. Hey, Wardian, how are you doing? So, David, honestly, I mean, without seeing your map, I would recommend probably sticking to objects. Objects have much more free control over how they can be placed than, say, a room. Now, a room, you can rotate the room before you generate it. Keep that in mind, too. So it can be put at angles. But rooms that are at angles to each other won't always intersect. You have to build off of that room if you want a room or a hallway to intersect. Does that make sense? And ultimately, making walls for a castle using this tool is not really ideal, in my opinion. I think these are much better for an exterior wall or a tower wall. There's many, many maps on the workshop that have examples of this. One second. Let's see where we're at. Just going to hurry and quickly save again, and then we're going to open up a map. There's a few maps that are just like cities or castles or forts, and almost all of the, like, the really well-designed ones typically will kind of flesh out their walls either with freestanding walls and make them really tall and thick, right? Or they'll use the stone platforms like I was showing you. Like in this map, for instance. One second. I'll try and give you the best demonstration I can. Yeah, room generation affects the ground. It'll flatten it out and it deletes things all around it. I personally like having a wall that feels like, you know, it's like carved into the rock or into the mountainside, or the, you know, the dirt goes up against it on either side. Just feels more like permanent, you know? I think you've told me about the Discord thing before, huh, David? I'm sorry. I brought it up again. That kind of slipped my mind. But to be honest with you, I know it's one of those things you don't do, and I'll just be letting you know that most of our support is done through Discord because it allows us to exchange, you know, map files, images, video, and then there's a text log, a big log that anyone can reference later and also use it for help. I know Discord is, you know, it's definitely a little frustrating at times. But one thing I can assure you is we don't really spam. We don't add everyone all the time. We only do it like once every 4 or 5 months at most, maybe even less. And then additionally, our community is very wholesome, and there are ways to prevent your Discord from being like more permeable. You can prevent outside DMs from people you don't know, not on your friends list, not even... You can even block DMs from everyone. If you're worried about notifications, you can disable notifications for the server. There's lots of ways to kind of mitigate some of the annoyances or problems with Discord by just simply configuring it correctly. I will no longer say anything about that, but I did want to show you this wall. This wall here was built using the method I just showed you, and it is beautiful. It's just stacked blocks, lots of blocks. And then this piece here, they hid a freestanding wall in the top to give it those little crenulations. And then here's towers attached to it. So as you can see, it is quite possible to do the similar kind of concept. But as you can see, it is possible to build like really beautiful, like defensive walls with these freestanding objects from the structural object structural panel. Check it out under you know, stone constructions, stone platforms. There's also one masonry has some interesting stuff like these little pillar pieces. So there's some freestanding gates you could use as like city gates. Even some kind of basic window stuff. So yeah, you wanted a defensive wall. Exactly. And like you could stack these double wide too, like is, you know, too thick instead of the one. So it's like a 10-foot walkway. I don't know. 5 feet's pretty big though. Oh my gosh, Wardian. I just barely noticed that message. And then up here, there's more of the same. This is like the main castle courtyard for the entire like city. And they have even more walls and defenses. But a lot of this is just object placement. Many know here I'm a stickler for the like 5-foot wide anything. I usually go for 10-foot wide, you know, hallways, 10-foot wide walls when I can. That's a personal preference. My mapping is going well. The challenges are great practice and giving me ideas for your world. That's awesome. You know, that is kind of the main point of the damn challenge, the ongoing map making contest we host every 2 weeks across, you know, all our stream platforms and our Discord, is to challenge yourself more than anything. Try these different themes and ideas, concepts that you wouldn't normally try because maybe it's something you weren't going to do in your campaign. And this map is something else. I miss Sailor Yugoth. They kind of are taking a break from mapping and their campaign for a while, which it makes sense. You know, DM's got to take a break for a while, every once in a while, so you don't get burnt out. But yeah, this map is something else. If you want to look it up, Port City with Castle. Great example of how to really flesh out a city, castle area. Exactly, Ricky, that's smart. Yeah, if you have a 5-foot hallway and you put suits of armor on the side, the scaling in DA is a little weird, and then you have no room in the middle for like a token or a character in the rule set of, you know, tabletop gaming, or 5e at least. That 5-foot space is harder to navigate now. You got to squeeze through it technically. And that shouldn't be difficult terrain. It's just weird math and visual representation. So 10 feet usually allows for, you know, more fluid motion, less, you know, traffic jams, better combat. 5-foot hallways and walkways have a place, bridges, etc., for specialized instances and encounters. I think they do have a place, but overall, I think you should avoid them until you're trying to do something specific. Like how this bridge is the only path through an area, and it's a 5-foot path. Something like that would be an ideal, you know, encounter situation. Someone's guarding the bridge, trying to extort people for money. I don't know. Oh, Mondu. Oh, Mondu. Okay, let's get back to building the map. I got a little distracted showing off a map, which is fine. I am here answering questions as well. These streams are AMA format, which means ask me anything. As long as it's Dungeon Alchemist related, feel free to ask away, and I will do my best to provide assistance, guidance, education, if you will, in real time. I also have a notebook here and a pencil, so if you have any suggestions or feedback, I can take your notes of, you know, what you have to say and pass that on to the devs when I have a meeting with them. Geez, Wardian, you've had an interesting week. Okay, I'm trying to remember what I was doing last time. So I was working on, like, decorating these areas. We need to add more graves. So what I'm going to do is, like rows and rows, but then there'll be, like, little paver paths kind of going through things. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to do the paver paths, though. There was this map I saw the other day that had, like, really interesting stone things in it. What was it? I think it was like a pillar, and they just sank it into the ground. Had like a round top like this. So what they did is they disabled collisions. Yes. So we could put some pavers here like this. Shift to replicate, and then I place them kind of just spaced out a little bit, probably, you know, every foot or so. Yeah, I'm gonna do a few. This is the area for like the clergy and like, you know, they're, you know, all of the priesthood and stuff. So it's not like they die regularly. At least that's the hope, at least. So this area, there probably wouldn't be as many fresh graves as, say, any other area in the entire cemetery. But yes, I do plan to do, like, over here, for instance, this space, from this corner here to probably up to here, will be all, like, kind of really simple, like, I guess you would call them pauper graves. Like, it's going to be packed in tight, lots of graves, dug graves, cairns, just stuff to make it look more basic. So, I have a question for y'all. For this one shot, we were given a small budget for our characters because we're starting at level 3. And I need DM feedback here. We were able to purchase items from the same magical item list. And I'm sure, I don't know if any of you are familiar, but I'm sure some of you are. But the same magical item list is kind of some of the key items from D&D, and then they put a price tag on them. So, like, if people are shopping and you roll for it, you don't have to go do the math. You kind of already know. And it also gives your players an opportunity to kind of, like, pre-shop before a one-shot to kind of kit their character out if you give them a limited budget. And I thought it was kind of neat in that regard. It's really, like, easy to use, but there was an item on it that caught my attention, and it's kind of cheap, and I'm wondering if it's underpriced, and I was wondering if anyone's ever used it before. Has anyone ever used Marvelous Pigments? I'll just get to the point. Nolzur's Marvelous Pigments, or just Marvelous Pigments, the unbranded version. Are you familiar with it at least? Or, like, the thing is I am wondering if any of you have seen this used in action in your campaigns, on your own tables, or, you know, when you're playing with your, you know, playing yourself, or when you are actually playing, have you seen it in use? Because I'm curious how this works in principle. Wardian, you can see how, you know, given the past few statements you've made, I am a little apprehensive to trust everything out of your mouth at the moment. But I would love to hear your feedback on this item. I know you're messing around anyway, so I'm glad you're here having fun, if anywhere, you know? But I would love to hear about... Yeah, so it's listed on the sane magical items list for 200 GP. And I just was like, you know what? I'll buy it. I'll buy that for $1. So I snagged it. And I'm just wondering if anyone has heard of some crazy shenanigans. Evo, it's in RoboCop, and there's another pop culture it's in. It's in several things, but it was in a video game when I was growing up as well called Smash TV. Yeah, I think the price is weird on it, but I just snagged it anyway because I thought, okay, interesting. And I don't know what to think about it or what to do with it, but like, okay, it says you can paint stuff, right? Or when you think of something, the brush paints it into existence. So you don't even paint, you just like hold the brush, think of it, and it paints it. And then if it's under 25 GP in cost, then it manifests it into existence. It's real. So 25 GP and under, real. 25 GP and over looks incredibly like good imitation until inspected. It is an interesting item to say the least, and I am just not sure what to think about it. So I was reading a little bit about it online, like forums and stuff. Usually Reddit has a lot to say about items like this. It was actually kind of stint on the subject, which is fine. There's a few other, D&D forums. You can look stuff up. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's a little broken in that regard. I mean, you could technically kind of use it as a disguise, but technically people probably cost more than 25 GP, so it would be like a really basic disguise. Probably wouldn't. You can paint arrows, anything on like the adventure like gear list that's 25 GP or under, you just paint it and you have it. But the thing is that there's a limited amount of paint, right? So you want to be kind of strategic in what you paint. When you get it, you get to roll a D4, and it comes with that many amount of pots of paint. So I got 3 pots, and I'm like, what? And each of those is like 1,000 or 100 square feet or something like that. Yeah, you could make some acid with it, or, grease or oil. Bridges, yeah. So one thing I read someone said you could do is like, they said, instead of wasting paint to draw like a huge door or a gate or something, don't use the paint to do that. Just carve like a thin angled slice that like is essentially like outward if it's like a stone wall. So when it's done, you just push and that piece falls out, and then it's a big hole you can go through. You don't need to have a whole door. You just need to paint enough to make the thing like be able to fall out of place. Yeah, you can. You could paint 24 gold coins or 25. Couldn't you just paint like a platinum piece? Because isn't that like 20 GP or something? Right? Wait, how much does a platinum? I can't remember. 10 GP? So you paint a couple platinum, right? It seems very broken. Am I alone in this? Holy, oh my goodness. And that's just in practical, like in practical application. You need something generic, you've got it. But I'm like, it does. as long as it's 25 GP or lower, it makes it real. So if you don't make an item that's 25 GP in value, so you could make a 25 GP value diamond and then just keep making little diamonds and crunch those up into diamond dust. Like, as long as it's not over 25 GP in value, then yes, you can do this. I should probably look at it from this angle, because, yeah, they're definitely not lining up. Another thing, let's turn on that grid so I can kind of just see the path I'm following to a degree. I really am, like, beating myself up over making this at a perpendicular angle to the grid, because, oh my gosh, it is so hard to, like, get this to line up sometimes, and items, they snap, like, into the grid pieces, but not where I want them to. Actually, that's kind of helpful in this point. Now, we need a little bit higher, so it isn't going to meet up there, because I'm just dumb and didn't have it line up over here. Anyway, you hear me talking to myself, don't worry. I'm alright. I mean, a lot of the items in that list totally make sense, their price, right? They totally make sense, but that one makes zero sense, and I'm not gonna lie, I'm just gonna, you know, maybe take advantage of that. A little bit. Uh-oh. Acme Paint, you're right, Huso, it is, basically. What happened to the live? Oh, there it is. Oh, it crashed for TikTok and Steam. Weird. Well, it'll only... Yeah, I mean, just most generic items, it's like clutch for that, I feel like. Okay, now we kind of have a structure to work around for the first set of graves. Refreshing Steam, just making sure. Steam is crashing. Oh, it just came back up. Okay. Weird. Oh my goodness. Yeah, but each thing you paint, like, okay, is it 10 minutes for 100 square feet or something? So it does take time, but if you had downtime, you could paint a small fortune. You know what I mean? Just a coin at a time? Or a platinum at a time? Because those are within the boundaries. I think diamonds that are 25 GP or less would be a smart way to go. Because then you could just trade in like a pouch of diamonds or diamond dust to use for, or you have that for, you know, revivify. Or you could trade in that pouch of diamonds for more like expensive gems for other spells. Because gems, you know... Like jewelers, they like small gems too. They like dealing in all sorts of sizes. So anyway. Okay, let's start adding a new row of, I'm thinking stuff like this. In combat, it's not as effective. I mean, technically, depending on the size of what you're painting, it kind of could be. You know what I mean? But if you're painting something large, it takes 10 minutes. But if you're painting like a thin slice... I don't know. By the way, cartographer, how you doing, buddy? So yeah, crazy item of the day is definitely Marvelous Pigments. So if you want to break your campaign, put some Marvelous Pigments in it. A component pouch. Oh my gosh. So essentially, you could be without. Well, you could also paint pretty much any of the focuses as well for that price too. 25 GP in value or less. That is so cool. How is your commission coming along, my friend? You just finished it, you said? That is so cool. I'm happy for you. I do another pathway going through here because it's like we can do that, and then we could also do some back to back here. Columbarium. I don't want to interfere with this path. I already think it is. But let's check it out from a token perspective. Nice. Weathertop is awesome, man. That's a good build. Hope you have some fun with that. Yeah, that is kind of weird where it's like right to there. It's over, up. Have like a thin walkway for these. And then I'll put some gates here. So, Ricky, it's a magical item that you just think what you want to paint to the brush, and as long as the brush has the magical paint on it, it just paints it into existence. So you just paint a coin or a pit or whatever. Nice. I can't wait to see what you build, my friend. Cannot wait. Let's grab one of these. Oh no, did not want to do that with it. Get into the ground. Up here. It almost looks like non-existent when it's like that, huh? I'll just raise it up so it's out of the ground just a little bit, so at least substance to it. A little private pathway, and we can put some flowers or something here. It basically is a 3D printer. I do think it rewards your creativity more than anything, you know? Like, oh, I can paint a door. That's kind of like the basic thing you can do with it, right? I mean, technically, a necromancer could just paint skeletons that are having to raid, say, a local, you know, cemetery for them, or war zone. You could paint a mastiff, and then it would come to life. Oh, and I am those hands. I think a warhorse is outside the price. I think the only mounts you can buy in the price range are like a donkey, a mule. and or a mastiff. You can. Hey, see you later, Rev. Have a good one. That's it. That being said, you could get a cart to attach to the donkey. Angle like that. Does it say inanimate objects? Ah, yep, inanimate objects. You're right. So you can't paint a mount, unfortunately. That is correct. But you could paint, say, a cart, saddle, possibly even barding. Oh my gosh, you can't stop him from drawing a bicycle. Hey, that's why we're here talking. Like, I like discussing this stuff to see what is, like, what seems reasonable. The thing about it, it doesn't say anything about artist checks. It's a magic item. Like, I wouldn't diminish its power because, you know, I'm not happy with how it's written. But, yeah, you could make a prison cell. I get you, Wardian. It's fine. Right? Technically, every time you do it, you could get 2 platinum. Over, you could draw a pile of 2 platinum and 5 gold over and over and over and over again, or a pile of 25 GP. You know what I mean? Individually, one at a time, yes. It's an interesting object, to say the least. Okay, I think I like what we've got with the pathway here. Let's start putting some more graves. I'm going to do them opposite directions. Just do it here. Here. Larger. Assortment of graves. I like how the chat is just on fire about this. Ignacio! Yeah, you like my Magikarp hat? Thank you. It's one of my favorites. Welcome to the stream. In fact, I'd like to take a moment to welcome all the new faces that are tuning in right now. If you're new to our channel on any platform, we happen to be streaming right now on Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, and Steam simultaneously. Just want to introduce myself. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. So if you have any questions, concerns, feedback, suggestions, you're wondering what you're looking at and you need some guidance, just let us know, and we will do our best to assist you. Yeah, people will take shortcuts, like I could do some dirt kind of cuts across areas. I was thinking of doing little finishing touches like that at the end once I kind of have the most of the layout, you know? But that is a great suggestion. I do like it. Huso, thank you for the follow. Much appreciated. And Michael Cabriata, thank you for the like over on Facebook. Much appreciated. Are these sarcophagus too weird for this? This seems like kind of out of place. That one looks good. So it's just like that thing. So what I'll probably do is maybe like you know, I'm a community of you know, something. I might be slightly necromancer as well. But no, yeah, that is kind of silly, isn't it, Arop? By the way, welcome to the stream. It's nice to meet you. But yeah, as the community manager for this map making program, let's put that into perspective. Let's see here. I'm thinking I want another path that kind of like veers out to this, coming off of this, and then there'll be room for graves on the back sides of these too. Where there's corners and there's not a whole lot of room, I'll probably just put like trees or plants, kind of like this one here. I mean, looking at the imagery of gold coins in like the DMG and PHB, it doesn't look much bigger than a 50-cent piece. I would say it's between quarter size and 50-cent piece of a US like coin. I mean, you could make a fair assumption that it's, you know, given the era and the ability between magic and you know, smithing, there's probably a decent coin size. I wouldn't say too thick. Probably double the standard thickness of coins nowadays. Here, let me grab my... Where are they? Oh, here they are. My calipers. Oh, goodness. I almost fell right on my foot. That would have hurt. I'll grab my caliper. We'll measure this quarter that I have sitting on my desk. That is 3 millimeters. So let's go 5 millimeters to be safe. I'd say 5 would be a good safe assumption. Just given like that it's an older style of coinage, you know. Yes, there's magic and it can definitely help, but I'm thinking, you know, given that a lot of people kind of do parallels of the fantasy, like, you know, metallurgy and capability to, like, you know, sort of like the knights and that kind of era, I guess. Like, they base it off of kind of a realistic... Anyway, you're just doing all the math. Atlam's over here doing the math to figure out how much money I could make from a series of painting coins. I'd probably just paint platinums instead, by the way, instead of gold, just because it seems more practical. Like, you'd make a lot more money. I really like how this is progressing, though. Yeah, true. A small little 25 GP diamond would probably be the most effective thing, because it's the smallest in size, uses the least amount of ink, and it has the highest amount of value, and most likely could be traded too, right? Yes, I love this, like, group resourcing we have going on here. This is great. A bunch of DMs putting their brains together, coming up with how much money you could make on a single pot. The problem with that, David, is ultimately there is forgery somewhere, right? They're going to come up, they're going to find out eventually that there's a forgery, whereas the other ones, they're actually real coins. You know what I mean? I'm literally just circumventing it by painting real money. Circumventing the law. So many crosses. Hard to just find stuff that doesn't have crosses in it in our graves. Interesting. That's smart too, Ricky. I mean, ultimately, like, you could paint an entire tavern a piece at a time, and it's just, like, all put together. For the most part, the entire tavern would be built. You know? You could probably build all sorts of basic structures without limitation. Just as long as you start small and build up. I mean, technically, I've got a little dip into Artificer, so it makes sense that I'm, like, into crafting and stuff. But my main build is called what my son and I call a Lucknomancer. And it's essentially a divination wizard with a lucky feat, and it's a halfling. So you have halfling luck, lucky, divination, and because you are a artificer, you can take guidance, so that helps tremendously. Like, all across the board. Oh, and then you have portents. And then I also have shield and what's the other thing? Oh, silvery barbs. So I have, like, pretty... Oh, and I'm wearing adamantine armor. I was able to buy some adamantine armor. That's what I use the majority of my money on. Yeah, he definitely did, huh, Stone? This is more like a cover. But yeah, that makes sense. That totally does. Going good, Cobalt. How you doing? We're essentially doing what is the sort of like saints, priests, clergy, nuns, etc. for this chapel. Martyrs. Hey, Sad City, how you doing? Oh man, that probably cost you an arm and a leg repairing a Spelljammer. Sure. We could do that. Speaking of statues, I need to start putting some over here. Thank you so much for the likes, TikTok. Much appreciated. Like it. Have to do a mapping point. I think it'll. I mean, you don't have to do it in one sitting. You can do hundreds of individual instances, actions, right? Treasure trove? There is no treasure trove on this map. At least yet. There's, this is pretty much just an old cemetery that is maintained by this, some kind of clergy. And there is also there will be a caretaker that lives over here that manages, all the plants and, make sure it's clean and navigable. There's no trash. Yeah, I think you can paint them individually, one at a time, and that's each of them is just one action, right? Oh, it's very big, cartographer. It's 82 by 82 so far. Good evening, Miss Island Lass. How are you? What you up to? I'm thinking we kind of keep them along this line, and then we might be able to put like one more little mausoleum here. Wrapping presents? What'd you get me? It is coming along, isn't it? But it still has so much work when I'm looking at it. Oh, right. Oh, it's fun seeing the entire community just all of a sudden be like, wait, what? Oh, yeah, I never thought of that. That's cool. It's very fun. I enjoy it. And I do appreciate all the feedback and insight on it because, like, I was confused about it, and I'm still a little confused, but it also seems a lot more, let's just say, navigable at the moment. I like how this one snapped into the corner piece, but the other one didn't. Like, what happened here? I guess we could do that. Yeah, so the caretaker is gonna live over here somewhere. Yeah, pretty much. Essentially, they're religious martyrs. So, like, think paladins, clerics, you know, people who served in the clergy. Not just religious martyrs, but also, you know, just people who, you know, served them and like worked in this chapel even. So they could be nuns that just worked every day of their life here, or they could be, you know, some paladin who served his life in you know in who's you know died in service of this church or anything, you know. I kind of put something nefarious over here, but it could be good or nefarious. Behind the little confession booth, there is secret passages, and there is a tunnel, like a door underground here. So it maybe the priests protect people, or they do something nefarious. Catacombs. But I was thinking kind of to add some intrigue where one of the graves could easily be like an entrance to kind of Diablo style, where there might be like a secret door or something in here that goes underground. Um, Oh, Arrow, thank you. I love putting a lot of detail in my maps, but it always backfires on me, I'll be honest with you. More often than not, I'll put all this detail in it, and then the map is just breezed through really quickly. You know, the players don't notice it or ask any questions about it. I'll hang lanterns very low and very bright for them to catch, and they still don't notice. Or I'll, you know, drop hints like I'm dropping a new album. They're so loud, and they just don't get it. But it's fine. That's half the battle as a DM, is becoming an effective storyteller to the point where your players can't help but notice the hooks you're dropping, right? Didn't you say they didn't even notice it? or it was the absolute opposite. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here. It's this is coming along. So I think I'm gonna put like something here, maybe another statue. I need walkways here going into that too. So let's start like here. Hold shift as I drop the paver in. Try and center it by tipping my head because it's at the angle of the walkway here. I guess I could just turn it this way and be like a normal human being, but then y'all wouldn't think I'm quirky enough. Joking, by the way. That looks pretty good. Right? Yeah, I did that intentionally, by the way, leaving light inside the mausoleums, thinking like, oh, these might be some of the more like impressive martyrs, and they're like actively revered and by the priests, you know, like maybe they even started their clergy or any number of things, right? Oh, Boots of Getting Lost is a little troll from Wim. I'm sorry. What you do, place it where you want, and then just undo it, you know? So undo with a Z. After you place it, it'll jump, right? If it doesn't jump when you place it, then just undo it, or then you're good. But yeah, every time you click on it, it's going to jump everywhere, so just use undo. They're annoying, though, for sure. That's Wim for you, though, right? I'm trying to decide, should I have this connect over here, maybe where this is, because that would be like a good bend? Or I could have none connecting, and then I could do a dirt walkway where they did it themselves. Like people started walking through this area. Raise of hands, DMs. How many DMs here have had their players waste a significant amount of time deciding whether to open a door? And the door was probably unlocked, didn't even have a trap on it. Has this ever happened to you? A lot more there. Oh my gosh. That's it. I mean, that happens in real life, solid 10. Making some good progress here, though, today. I feel like we are. Oh. Now I started freaking out. There's like a piece of fluff on it. Like, what is going on here? Got some happy little dirt trails there. You had a thief that couldn't figure out how to pick a lock? There was none? Did they just never ask? Does this door have a lock on it? I think I'm gonna have a path coming through here, too. You know what they say when you assume. Yeah, I like that there better. Natural. If I lift this up just a little bit more, I might be able to fit one more grave in here. But I could also just make this one big grave like this. Now I do have more graves. We've got some happy little graves here. They're just waiting for the neighborhood necromancer to discover them. One might think that graves aren't happy, but remember, they're in their forever sleep. And when we sleep, we feel good. Can't tell me you haven't woken up from a nap that you didn't feel amazing. On this side, structured and I don't know, what is it called? Oof. So Arop on YouTube says, "What is it called when a necromancer performs an exhumation?" An unboxing. Just keep paving, just keep paving. Oh. All right. Oh my gosh, I just noticed my shirt's ripped. I just pulled it out of the wash this morning. I hope it didn't rip. No! I need a new shirt. Curses! Okay. What would YouTube, the equivalent of like a streaming platform or like a YouTube platform, be in like a 5e or like a Pathfinder world? We do actually have some open graves already. There's like one here. There's a couple open graves throughout the site. Um, no, no worries. I mean, I built that a couple of weeks ago, to be fair. So, but this particular area here is mostly like people who served the church, you know, clerics, paladins, priests, you know what I mean? And so this is the various graves of people who served the clergy. And so there may not be, you know, many of them dying like regularly per se. And now that doesn't mean it doesn't happen. This map isn't up yet. It's not done. When it's done, I'll share it on the workshop for everyone. It's only about halfway finished at the moment. Well, given the size of this place, I'd imagine, you know, it probably facilitates a city nearby or several villages or cities. And, you know, probably a big kingdom nearby. And they probably have, you know, 1 to maybe 3 deaths a week in the area. Seems pretty reasonable. But that'd probably be a busy week. I'd imagine probably 1 death a week. Thank you for the likes, TikTok. Much appreciated. I mean, obviously, I'm purely speculating at this point. I had headstones on that side, but I guess I don't. here. But I definitely like the idea of more open and rough graves. Over here, this is going to be like not nice graves. These will be mostly like pauper graves. So they'll mostly be just dug, pits or like cairns or, simple grave markers. And that's kind of the plan for this. Dirt mounds, etc. Pits dug over here. So I do have plans for this area to be more generic. Could be an exhumation. One thing we did talk about is when I'm building maps, I often will make headcanon for the maps, right? And that canon ends up being like what we put in the description for said map. And over the course of the building this, people are like, well, what about grave robbers? And so I said, this place is actually a very respected and protected site with magic and otherwise. And people don't often steal from it because it's frowned upon and will also often get you killed. So that's one thing, right? Or, arrested or whatever. We were kind of developing upon that because many of the graves had like little, things on them. And people were like, if we had a rogue in our party, this place would be pilfered. It'd be like Bender. I like looting. I like taking things. Yes. In fact, I plan to add, in each area, we're going to do finishing touches later. So I laid out graves, right? But what we're going to do is put like ivy or grass and bushes on some, and some will have things like actively being, cleaned and maintained and visited. Others will look like just they haven't been visited in, decades. This area, obviously, it's owned by, I'm assuming, whether it's like a royal family or something like that. This plot is maintained very well kept. But there is also a groundskeeper, so I'd imagine the groundskeeper probably goes through and maintains some of the graves too. So some of them, I don't think it'll be like completely managed, but there will be some that are more like old looking or less, like there's going to be gravestones that are broken, right? Who so? But that's a good one, Huso. I also need to fill in all of these now. Goodness. How much time we got? We got about 30 minutes in the stream. I actually did a surprising amount of work over in this area today. Last couple of weeks, we got a lot of distractions, and that isn't a bad thing. Because we had a lot of people coming in asking questions, and I will stop anything. I will stop whatever I'm doing to make sure questions are getting answered. So if you have, a concern or feedback or a suggestion, or you're having problems, building something and you need help, anytime you see the stream live, you can pop in and get assistance. The only stream that's kind of a trouble to get live assistance in is the... we host a stream called the Dam Challenge, which is a contest where people submit maps, and the winning maps or the winning map is hosted first, and then the follow-up maps are shared after. So that's next Saturday. So next Saturday, we may not focus on support so much as we do, say, showcasing those maps. But I don't like the idea of dirt paths over here so much, because this is like a really nice maintained area of like the respected, people from, the past of this chapel over here. So I don't know how I feel about this dirt path. I would feel like they'd have paths everywhere they need them to be to go see anything. But I could see it like over here or in the paupers' graves. And then I also have one more area I'm going to do that's mostly going to be this section here, which is going to be terraced graves. I'm going to have like raised, flattened areas with like mausoleums and graves on them, fences and stuff going down, stairs and all sorts of stuff. Okay, we got a question on YouTube about multi-level, which, let's address that really quick, because multi-level is a big thing that's been asked a lot by our community. Our next update, Fun with Objects, will include multi-level. When it is launching is yet to be determined, but it's most likely going to be Q1 of next year, so likely in the next, 3-4 months, okay, is the guesstimate right now, okay? So we're just in the beginning of December. It could be any time between now and the end of March, most likely, is the guesstimate the devs are kind of taking at the moment. We have a whole bunch of kind of teasers that have been popping out, so you can see what's going on with that. We share them on stream pretty frequently and post them on our social networking and various platforms. But as you can see here, multi-level is definitely coming along. We're testing it. We're working on roofing and balconies and making sure that all of the assets that we currently use in DA work with this new system. Many assets had to be depreciated, meaning junked and remade. These lights are a new thing as well. If you look at these little floating orbs, these are a new feature called abstract lights. So they're a light that you can place anywhere on the map, and you can change their color and brightness, and they show up while you're building, but when you export, they're invisible. So the light source still appears, but the actual light housing itself, this little, soccer ball looking thing, will disappear from the export. So you will have light, but nothing there obscuring the immersion. Let's see how. You'll be able to do, multi-levels within a building. You could do balconies. You could get rid of all the floor and just have a huge vaulted room. There won't be any Fog of War in this next update, as far as I'm aware. More than likely, if we address Fog of War, it'll be after we leave early access. I.e. after we've delivered on all our Kickstarter promises and goals. Because Fog of War was something we never really planned on or promised to do. Though the devs have stated due to community feedback and insight, they will consider doing it after that point. So we have 5 major updates before we leave early access. Every update takes about 5-6 months. Putting that into perspective, you are likely looking at a minimum of 2 years before we do anything like Fog of War. The reason we don't have Fog of War is because Dungeon Alchemist is a map-making program and an immersion utility. It's not a place to play. It's not a place to facilitate gameplay. It's not a virtual tabletop. Though that doesn't stop our community from doing so, and there's plenty of people who run their maps and games exclusively in Dungeon Alchemist. Especially when you're playing localized TV tabletop play, it's really convenient. But at the same time, it lacks a few tools to really say that it can do it. You know what I mean? So, ultimately, what I would say is, at some point, yes, Fog of War is something we're considering. Until then, you can always export your Dungeon Alchemist maps to a tool that does have Fog of War as intended. So something like Foundry, Roll20, Fantasy Grounds, above VTT, those are 4 major virtual tabletops we have compatibility with. And our maps export to those systems, and then they support Fog of War. So our maps export with all of the data for windows, walls, doors, lighting, and then it automatically translates that data to your character's tokens in those programs. So essentially, your player's tokens will know where they can see and what they can see automatically, i.e. Fog of War. We have no plans to support any third-party modules for any major VTT. Most likely never, because Third-party modules, as you know, they are behind the curve on the major, virtual tabletop software. So when a new version of Foundry comes out, the modules are often months behind before they get updated. Sometimes they never get updated again because they're orphaned. The creator just loses interest, or, worst case scenario, can no longer work on it for whatever reason, physical or otherwise. And as a result of which, it's no longer something that's around. So as a small team, an indie team of less than 10 people with limited, manpower and resources, it doesn't make much sense for us to focus on supporting a module. But we do plan to offer level-based export that supports as many virtual tabletops simultaneously at the same time, meaning it'll be a simple, straightforward solution that works within the given structure of all the stock virtual tabletops. And what I mean by that is each level, you can transition between the levels, i.e. There's a little user interface. I'll show you a video that has it. Here, let me pause this really quick. If you look over here, you see on the right side of the screen, there is this little 0 and an up. When you start transitioning between levels, you can use the arrow up or down. There will be another one here to go up and down. You can go underground into the terrain. You can go above ground and go up levels. In my testing, before my dev build crashed and broke and I can't use it anymore, it was about 14 levels total that I was able to build, and I had about 7 underground and 8 above ground, and it was just fine. Or it was like 15 levels, I think. So the overall system works really well transitioning between those spaces. You can click, or you can use a hotkey plus or minus to transition between the levels. And when you jump to a new level, you can then export that level only, right? Which would allow you to just export that level as a scene, and then you can make that a scene in your virtual tabletop. Now, if you use modules like Monk's Active Tiles or anything that allows you to transition between spaces and it teleports the tokens, say, from room to room or into a dungeon or up to a different level or a new map, it will, you can use those still in tandem with Dungeon Alchemist and Foundry to automatically transition to that new scene. But it will be a much more fluid transition in that the build of these scenes automatically has like stairs and everything between them. You know how to interact with them and how they're built and laid out. Instead of like delicately stacking things, they're much more, standardized and simple. The room generation for this is insanely quick. And by that I mean you can throw together a structure in just moments. Yeah, we talked about having like maybe an entrance to some, like a secret entrance to maybe an underground something or catacombs or something. I mean, player adventures, you can do that already right now. You just make 2 maps and connect them through your virtual tabletop with some sort of software, like a module that essentially transports your players to the next scene. So let's say they get to the stairs on floor 1, they hit that, the second their token goes there, it automatically loads them to the new scene. Now that's exactly how Dungeon Alchemist works right now, but you would build each map separately. There's no way to combine 2 maps per se in Dungeon Alchemist, but there is a way to combine them using a virtual tabletop. And that's exactly what virtual tabletops are meant to do. Now, this next update will allow you to build the multi-level structure in a single build without having to separate it into multiple maps or levels all over the map, transition between the spaces fluidly, and then export them as separate scenes each level. We're even working on a mass exporter that would export every level for that, entire map. Maybe even add some options to it to, export different settings, time of day, maybe add snow and no snow, stuff like that. We'll see, though. So I'm not sure if we'll ever offer the option to combine 2 maps, like DA maps together, like bridge them, but that's exactly what virtual tabletop software does. And do you use a VTT right now, Player Adventures? Foundry? Okay, so Foundry is a great example. So essentially, like look at this map. We have 2 levels, right, when it's built, right? If we were to export this for Foundry, it would essentially, we could export each level individually one at a time, or the mass exporter will allow you to export both floors, right? Now, right now, there really is no stair or ladder between these spaces, so you'd either need an external stair or more building, but you see how quickly you can build the levels. We're adding stairs and other transitional features into the AI. It's a work in progress. But right now, in my current build, when I last used it, I could put a stair on the bottom floor, and it would automatically create the holes dynamically above for the floor above it, and that would allow it, in first person, you could walk directly between those spaces. Here, let me give you an example. Let's see here. I'm trying to find this very specific video. Here it is. Is it this one? Maybe. But as you can see, you'll be able to, walk around in first person, navigate and transition spaces. And this is a very, very early build, so it's a little scuffed. But as you can see, it's coming along. There's a lot of work going into making sure that multiple levels are traversable in first person and also in top down. And essentially, each of these floors will be exportable as a separate scene that you can then link together using like a module in Foundry. This one's a better video, actually. It is missing some textures because it's alpha footage, so just keep that in mind. There's some clipping and stuff, but overall, it is definitely indicative of where this is heading. Now, I show the first-person view because you as the DM can record these scenes walking through this stuff, or you could stream this view to your players over Discord while they're navigating the various floors and top-down. Or you could give them a little handout that's like a quick, cut scene, chase scene, something like that. This is all things I've seen used in our community, and it works rather well for immersion. But a lot of what this multi-level will do still remains to be seen and is still being worked on. So it's hard to, say exactly how everything will fit into place with each individual virtual tabletop until we are closer to the release and see it in action. In fact, I haven't even been able to do a multi-level export yet because the exporting functionality isn't fully built in. So, one of those things. Anyway, I hope I answered your questions to a degree. But yeah, Foundry has a plugin or a module called Active Tiles from Monk. And that one is great for staircases. You could set a tile to the stair or a ladder, and when your players get to that stair, it'll transition them to the next level automatically, which is a new scene. But in building it, being able to see how the transition spaces work and how the flow of the map works in both first person and top down and 3D and everything, it's really nice and very valuable to make sure it has a very good flow in virtual tabletop space. Anyway, moving on. Michelle, what were you saying wow to? That skull just a little too small and the shaders on it just disappear, I've noticed. You're going home in an urn. Yeah, a few Funerary urn. Completely unnecessary details here, but I'm adding them anyway. Ah, yes, thank you for the reminder. Just a heads up to everyone, we are hosting an ongoing map making contest currently, and it is called the Dam Challenge. We host it, it's every 2 weeks. We pick a new theme, and we encourage our community to participate in that. You can essentially use that theme as inspiration and make a map of any shape or size, and then submit that map into the Dam Challenge channel on our Discord for a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card and a little bit of Mapmaker immortality. As you are, featured in our weekly newsletter, your map is the first map featured on the Dam Challenge stream, and you're added to our Dam Challenge collection as a winner there too. So there's like a lot of little, fun aspects of it. But if you're interested in participating, the current theme is window shopping. Using window shopping as inspiration, you make a map of any shape or size. You submit that map to our Dam Challenge channel in our Discord. There's some rules pinned at the top of the channel. Make sure you follow those rules, or I'll have to disqualify you. I'm just kidding. I just don't share your map if you don't follow all the rules. Otherwise, it's a great way to kind of challenge yourself, flex your map maker muscle a bit, see what you're capable of. And it's a good way to step outside of your comfort zone and do something you maybe haven't done before. Map transition thing? Oh, yeah, I get you. Save, because I have not saved in a hot minute. Save again. Save 17 times in a row just to make sure I got it. Y'all ever do that when you're playing a game? You like save over and over again because you're just not sure if you got it the first time. Even though you probably did. Hmm. I know we put some bones in the other one, like an arm, so we'll do. It's like, this is like if that's all they had of them. You know what I mean? Probably didn't go well for these people. Vecna's arm, yep. There it is. It's hiding in plain sight. On this side, we actually did something interesting. There's a golden skull in there, and it's caged. Don't want that. Scepter's too big. Put one of these orbs in here. No! Paying attention. I wouldn't say it's the head of Vecna. It's just a gold head. People are like, that's going to get stolen. So I was like, okay, fine. I'll fence it off. Less likely to be stolen now. Let's finish off these headstones here. Let's do grave. You know which one I want that I haven't used in a while? This one's marked completely different. I can't even remember what it's called now. Cross. Don't use it very often, but we can put one like here probably. And I'll just sink it down. Don't know what it. Plug it in. You know, we kind of have a Baba Yaga's hut. We just can't call it Baba Yaga's hut. You can open it, decorate the inside. The head even moves. And it's got the little chicken legs. I think any chance we get, we just try to avoid any type of potential copyright issue, even though Baba Yaga is like a cultural, like historical thing. More often than not, the devs will just avoid using anything that Wizards of the Coast uses or whatever. It's just a smart move as a small company to avoid any excessive litigation and just keep it all to your own kind of stuff. And it more often than not, even when companies don't have a leg to stand on, they'll litigate with small companies simply because they can afford it and small ones can't. You know what I mean? Just waste time and the court's time, and you know, and ultimately their goal is to, you know, put you in the ground. So I know. I think the devs just like to play it safe is all when it comes to that stuff. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's their business, and if they want to make that choice, I'm not going to hold it against them. I definitely would rather protect Dungeon Alchemist at all costs. Oops. I need another mausoleum over here. Probably a tree there, too. Get so distracted so quick. Like a little bird. Goldfish. Streamer brain. At the end of the day, I'm not a lawyer, and I'm not on the law team or the accounting team for DA, so I don't make any of those decisions. And I know there's definitely a clear case if it's not like owned by them, but at the same time, I just think they just like to make everything solidly their own and not even interfere that it might, or infer that it could be related, you know? Dungeon Alchemist at the end of the day is very system agnostic. So I think that's kind of the main. Hey, see you later. See you later, Michelle. But Michelle, I wonder if that wandering hut might work for you. Who knows? Okay. Which grave headstone have I not used in a while? Guess we can just do a big cross here. More plain Jane ones around. Do like one big grave here. These kind of like raised. Be easier to just grab it from the map than it is to just find the old one. Okay, this important. large, so it pops, and you're like, oh, there is definitely a big grave over here. Luckily, this isn't for my party. This is for the community, and they could use it however. Honestly, that's what's best about these Mapmaker Monday sessions is the maps. I share them on the workshop, and more than likely they get used. You know what I mean? In fact, a lot of my maps that I share on Mapmaker Monday have really high ratings and download numbers. So it makes me happy knowing that people get use of them. Honestly, Wardian, like, I understand where you're at there, man. But you have to understand where we come from as a small company. It makes sense to not, like, get yourself tied up in excessive litigation whenever possible. Even if you are in the right, companies like that will go out of their way to, you know, ruin small businesses. As we have seen time and time again, they're not against, you know, using shady tactics to get their way, so... I mean, like, Pepsi was suing a small farmer somewhere, and because the potatoes he was growing is the same potatoes they're growing for their chips or something. Like, what? Come on, man. That makes no sense. Like, what other potatoes is he gonna grow? And we're obviously not like the farmer in this situation, but we are an indie company that doesn't have the resources or manpower to take on a big company. So we just try not to provoke them. Any of them. I was thinking of doing some more columbariums because I could do some back-to-back like this along the fence. I just kind of like mixing and matching them wherever it kind of was sufficient. And I could maybe even do a third one here. Like this. Ooh. Getting good. Did you know you can even merge these pillars? So it even makes it like a tighter structure. That being said, it is overlapping the walkway there, so I'm gonna have to fix that. Let's start by resizing this one here. A little bit smaller. So more room to work with. Tuck it into here-ish. Replicate. Rotate. Tuck it in. Rotate by holding shift. Rotate. This is merged. If you disable collisions in Dungeon Alchemist, objects can merge together much cleaner. You can, you know, make them like unique, new and unique objects by putting them together like this. So now I made like a custom columbarium by merging these all together. I think it looks pretty good. Maybe that's just me. But I use that to my advantage all the time. If you disable collision, several secondary behaviors happen. So objects, more often than not, objects don't want to merge together. They get mad. You get these red little boxes, right? The collider box is telling you no. If you disable collisions, objects can be merged together. They can be raised up and down. That's actually a pillar I've been using for this little stone paver this whole time. And they also can be scaled far above and below their normal limits when you disable collisions. It essentially unlocks the object, giving you much more versatility in its creation and functionality. It's not a true merge, like they're not linked together in that you can move them as one object. There's still two objects, but visually they look like one. And when it exports in a top-down, I don't think the players will notice or the difference. Eventually, though, we will include a tool that allows you to merge objects together into a new and unique object called, it's a tool we internally called variant creation. You actually see it all the time in Dungeon Alchemist. There are objects all throughout DA that come pre-decorated, like this desk. Before I finalize the location of this object, if I press tab, it shifts through all the pre-decorated variants that we pre-made for this. The AI doesn't decorate this. We pre-decorated these and inserted them in as an option for our proc gen. Does that make sense? So essentially, it will put one of these few out every time it generates something with this desk. So it adds diversity if there's several desks in the room, like in a library or, a study. That being said, we plan to, hopefully in this next update, give you the ability to create custom variants yourself. About a half a year ago, we started testing with the community, allowing them to put objects together to see what kind of play we had with it. And then we'd submit those to the team, and the team would see if they could be made as variants. And we learned a lot from it. And the plan is to give you a tool that you could put objects together, save that grouping of objects, copy and paste that grouping of objects around the map or between maps. So you could decorate a house with a prefabricated set of decorations and then stamp that into the same size house over and over and over again across many different maps. We're hoping to pair this with the ability to share these variants on the workshop. So essentially, you'll be able to create a variant and then upload that variant to the workshop so other users can benefit from it. Maybe you put a whole ship together and decorated it and saved it as a single variant, so the whole decorated ship is one piece. Though you probably could grab each individual item just like our existing variants work. When you place down an object that is a variant, every object on it can still be grabbed and moved. Custom object brushes are coming in the next update, yes. In fact, I can show you a clip of that. I have something to show that. So it is essentially you select the object you want to make a brush of, and then you click Create Custom Brush, and then it allows you to turn any object into a brush that can be used across the brush types and advanced settings. You can use any object in DA, so any stock object, as long as, it's not like a locked or a fixed object. Or any object from the workshop. So you could download an object from the workshop and turn it into a brush. Lots of time-saving tools on their way for DA. Currently, as far as I'm aware, the first iteration will just give you a single item for a brush. There will be no palletizing brushes or mixing objects. I have asked about this and I suggested it, but I don't know if it'll be added right away or if they're going to have time to develop it into it or if it'll be just put on the, the to-do list and added later. Because often they'll release a basic iteration of a tool and then make improvements with it over time. You know what I mean? So, like, for instance, the first variation of the collision toggle only allowed you to merge objects together, but now over time it's allowed you to unlock scaling and do other things too. The initial Steam Workshop integration was only for maps, but now you have the asset browser and the ability to import assets to Dungeon Alchemist and upload them to the workshop. So I'm hoping that will allow you to do like a palette of objects that paint several together, so it saves you some time. But at the end of the day, you can always just jump between several different objects and then paint with them in the area. As long as you're not painting too dense, it should allow it. So this will still speed up your workflow significantly. Darn. Really hoping to throw another one in there. Have to make them a little bit smaller. Because otherwise it's going to overlap this path, which I don't want. I guess I could put like some fencing or something. Just kind of add to it. Something like this. Or just leave it as is. Definitely. Got a lot of progress today. I'm really excited with all the moves I made today with this map. Quite a bit done today. So I just want to, we're actually past our time now, so we're going to wrap up. But before we do, I just want to add a couple quick things, just some reminders. If you are interested in participating in the Dam Challenge, your time is running out. You only have a few days. In fact, between now and the end of day on the 13th, Friday the 13th. So if you're interested in participating in the Dam Challenge, submitting a map in the window shopping map making contest, please consider the time that's left. You are running out of time, so make sure you do it now instead of later. You're not kicking yourself at the last minute if you want to participate. But basically, you make a map of any shape or size, submit that to the Dam Challenge channel in our Discord, at which point, as long as you're following the rules pinned at the top of the channel there, your map will be considered as an entry. And if your map is the winning map, it's the first map featured on the Dam Challenge stream on the 14th, and you win a $10 Hero Forge gift card. So many hearts from TikTok. Let's see. Wow, thank you, TikTok. Hey, Emmy, how are you? On the bad luck day? It is the bad luck day, huh? Oh, yeah, the Friday the 13th, right? Unfortunately, the contest just runs every other Friday. I don't think that was intentional. Oh, man, we got a good chunk of this area done. I'm trying to decide what to do with this little pizza slice. Don't know what to do. More graves, probably. You enjoying the theme? I'm glad you're liking it. I always try to pick ones that I hope people will like. A pond. Ooh, that's a good idea, Mondu. I like that. I like that. I like this. Seating area. Yeah, like some benches. Because we did a couple over here that was really nice, right? And then there are some seats over here. We'd probably do some seating areas. Or maybe even something like this, like a gazebo. The space is ideal for it. And make it a little bit larger. Because then I could have like a little path walking through here where you can get into it. And then we could put something in it. Some spider webs. This area of the graves of the cemetery is very well maintained. In fact, there is a on-site caretaker who takes care of most of the plant life and cleans up the graves. I plan to build his home over here. It'll be like a cottage and like a big shed and like a garden and stuff. But that is yet to come. I typically run my games in top-down, but I also build my maps with the idea of me wanting to offer first-person or cinematic perspectives when needed. So I can, hop in with a token and stream a first-person view for my players if they want a closer look. And I can stream it over like Discord or, if you use like Zoom or Skype, alternatives are great. Please don't crash. We do have half walls, both in the wall generation as well as in the freestanding walls. Man, when I clicked that first person token, it didn't like it because it's such a big map and it's been a while since I saved. I'm just gonna keep clicking wait. When in doubt, just click wait and wait it out. You know, I'm not currently DMing a session. I'm kind of taking a break from DMing. I needed like a mental break from it. There's just so much between work and family and DMing and other hobbies. So at the moment, I'm not currently DMing. I'm actually hoping to get back into playing a little bit. So like on this 15th, I'm actually playing for the first time in like months. Really excited for that. Yep, waiting paid off. Okay. So what I like to do is you could stream this perspective to your players. It won't have that green highlighter, but it will have the stuff at the top and the little icon in the center. But you could just be like, this is what your player sees if they're here, you know? And it allows your players a much more immersive style of gameplay, especially if they don't have like a good mind's eye. Like some people really can't visualize things in their mind, and that's not a bad thing. It's just everybody's different, you know? So as a DM, it's good to kind of get your production to cater to every player in your group. You know, you want good sound effects, you want good maps, you know, good effects, visuals, storytelling, and also, you know, different angles. And I love walking around in first person and streaming it to my players because, to be honest with you, this is one of their first abilities, being able to see. You know, we have eyes we take for granted. We use them every day. We walk around, look at everything around us, but our player characters, we can only see what they see from a top down in a weird kind of sliced God mode. It is interesting perspective, but it is nice to give your players the ability to see through their own eyes. Some DMs will hide this behind like, you know, maybe a role or an inspiration, and that's fine. You can do that for your table. I personally will just follow and stream the first person perspective, and I will catch up to where the players are. You know, every minute or so, I'll catch up to where they are in top down, and then they'll say, hey, could you take a closer look at the garden or the plants, or is there something over here? What is this pergola? So in top down, you might miss that there is blood here. But in first person, if I stream this to my players, they would definitely be able to see that, and they go, oh, there's a book there? What's that book all about? Just gives them more opportunities to RP and interact with the environment, especially if they're not used to top-down play. But yeah, Shlomo, that's kind of personal preference, really. It all comes down to your table at the end of the day, how you think your players will react to the content you've given them. Oh man, this looks great, though, in first person. My token's a little tall, but overall, I'm really vibing with this setup. Like little paths, and I could even sink some of these in next to the pavers to kind of block it off. Might sneeze. I might sneeze. Anyway, and I also do plan to have like maybe like interactive options, like if the players are looking at some of the mausoleums and go inside, they could realize there might be a secret passage there if their passive perception is high enough, or they roll an investigation or perception check to determine like there might be a secret latch or maybe a current of air flowing under something that makes no sense. That's my favorite way to find a secret passage, by the way, is a current of air. So I used to do a lot of caving. Like I would go exploring, spelunking, if you will, in caves. And we would use that as a method to try and find new passages all the time. You would listen and feel for currents of air. So it's like something that is a real life experience for me, and I love the idea of like being in a cave, a tunnel, and feeling like a whistle or hearing like a whistle of wind that you're not sure where it's coming from. And it ends up being like a little crevice that you can crawl through if you use a spell or something. Emmy, I can't wait to see your entrance. Unfortunately, I can't talk about anybody's work until the day of we show off maps, because I don't like to show any favoritism, but I'm excited to see your entry regardless. I love all the entries that we've had so far. There's been some interesting entries into this damn challenge. Man, 10-foot pole stuff takes me back, though. You know what I mean? Like 10-foot pole was the old school mage hand. Like for old like players that are new to like only 5e and newer, like 10-foot pole was the mage hand back in the day. You would use the 10-foot pole to determine if there was traps. So that's why there are some objects like a pole that extends It's kind of like the power pole, or the Monkey King's pole. I mean, I definitely wouldn't mind a player on my table when I get back into DMing that didn't trivialize every door, that was just not as, worried about there being traps or problems. Be kind of fun. Oh, navigable. Perfectly navigable. Yes! Oh, smart. Yeah, the 10-foot pole is the way to go then, man. You just prod with the pole. Or if you have like, a bag of vermin, or a hat of vermin, isn't that what it is? You can pull out the vermin and throw it into there. So you just throw out like a mouse or something. Oh man, that poor steed. Just keep summoning a new steed. Oh no. Like, if money wasn't an issue, if you have a good amount of money coming in with your players, you're like, resummoning a familiar probably isn't a problem either. Or an unseen servant is a great little, fodder. Homunculi for an artificer. This map looks great. It's coming along. I'm really excited for the progress we made today. It looks really structured and clean over here. Getting a whole bunch of graves, added to the cemetery makes sense, right? They get a free cast of Fine Steed. Wow. And is it just an action? As an artificer too, you have several ways you can arm traps or look for traps. So you have the homunculus. If you are a battle, what is it? The battlesmith. Battlesmith has like a companion, a steel defender that can be either four-legged or, two-legged, and you can just send that in, and then you can resummon it for free on a short rest. They also can heal with mending, so it's not like you're wasting tons of spells to heal them if they do get hurt from triggering traps. So I had a steel defender, I named him Trunk. He was essentially a big walking trunk, like a wardrobe trunk that opens when it stands vertically, and inside was like my extra clothing and equipment and tools, and then his head was a big anvil, and then he could go down on all fours like a Autobot or like a Transformer, and then turn into a mount. Because I was a changeling, I could shift my size to small, and I would ride him sometimes, not all the time, but once in a while. And then or he could act as like a table or a work surface and an anvil, like a little smithing table when I was on the go. So essentially, if I needed to, Trunk would go into work mode, and he'd get down on like his hands and knees and act like a workbench and a smithing, like a anvil. And then if otherwise, I could ride him like a mount, or he would just walk around, like a humanoid. It was pretty fun. I think I have some pictures of him. Y'all want to see him? I DM primarily D&D. Let me see if I can find it. I'm trying to remember where it is. Okay, it is in... Oh, yeah, I know where it is. It's in my hard drive where I keep all my... Maybe. Here it is. Okay. Found it. Okay, so this is Trunk, is what I call them. And this is him just like in normal mode, battle mode, whatever. Trigger traps, walk in ahead of everyone mode. And then here, like when we're out of combat, he can open up his chest like one of those uh I don't know, a wardrobe trunk, and like I could keep clothing and tools and equipment inside because he had quite the carry weight. And then this is him as a workhorse. A workhorse is what I called it, because he was a war horse and a workhorse. So because he was a construct, he never needed to sleep. And like, yeah, it was like he could do work endlessly, and you could ride him as long as you wanted, and you only needed to stop for a break every once in a while. But basically, Trunks' deal was he just did, listened to me, followed all my commands, and he would follow the party commands as long as I said it was okay. And he would help defend me and fight for me and trigger traps, because all it took to bring him back was like a short rest or some mending. So did not take long. And he has a self heal as well. Yep, the side view is like an anvil. That was part of it, is like I wanted to make sure he actually like had the anvil head. You see this is the horn of the anvil right here. It looks like the top of the anvil. And then this is just workbench and badonkadonk, I guess. And then from the front view, the anvil horn, you could see it's like pointed, almost like a shark fin looking at you. Anyway, I thought this was a pretty neat idea. The DM at the time thought it was rather interesting. So they are non-verbal constructs, but they can listen. They understand any language you know, so they understand commands. But I did figure out a way to give him an ability to talk. So I was going to generate him with part of his chest being a abacus. Okay? So abacus is a normal item in D&D. It's like a regular old item, right? He had an ability that was just like a punch. Like he would hit people. There was no charge ability or anything like that. He only had several actions, like actual actions. So he could do the dodge action, and then he had an attack ability, and then he would follow your command orders. So he could do like mundane tasks, and like I'd have him help set up camp and clean and help me when I was crafting, because like he would hold the metal items like in his bare hands, and then I could hit them with a hammer. It didn't even hurt him because he's metal. It was pretty fun. It was very neat flavor. I never used the horn of an anvil like a charging thing, mainly because I didn't want to do something that, like an attack that wasn't there. I guess I could do an improvised. So what I came up with was I wanted an abacus on his chest, and I called it the Blabacus. And it would take a lot of money and time, but you could cast Magic Mouth to each of the beads individually. And essentially each of the beads could have a simple phrase: yes, no, 1 through 0 through 9, danger, safe, little things like that. So he could communicate basic concepts. Good guy, bad guy. With the magic mouth on an abacus, you could have 20, 30 phrases, and it's like a speak and spell, essentially. So I called it the Blabacus, and I was working on it, but then that campaign came to a halt. The DM kind of basically had a mental breakdown and stopped talking to everyone. Which I that happens sometimes. I just feel bad that he ghosted the entire party. Because no one really knows what happened. Like, kind of people suspected he might have died, because he just stopped talking to us. It's not like he deleted the Discord or anything. He just stopped talking, and we don't know his real name. It's kind of sad, actually. I feel bad. Honestly, that's part of the reason I've started getting to know my online friends a little bit more, just at least knowing more about them. So, like, if there's something that happens, I could, like, check on them. But obviously not every one of your online friends are going to be comfortable with that, But Magic Mouth is a great spell for DMs. You can leave instructions. Not bad. Not bad. So one action you can summon a steed. That's really not bad. If there's not a summoning time for summon steed, like like a minute or something, that's insane. But yeah, like Tronk didn't really have an attitude. He just kind of was silent. Imagine like the strong silent type. Silent but deadly, you know what I mean? It was an interesting character, and it paired really well with my changeling artificer, battlesmith artificer. I was like really cool, because essentially if I needed a mount, I was medium normally as a changeling, but I'd switch down to like a halfling or a gnome and then ride him. Just shrink my size and ride the thing into battle, and because he didn't get sleepy or get exhausted, I could have dash every single round, just dash riding him 60 feet, and then it would use his movement, and then I could jump off and attack people, or, catch up to people running away. No one ever got away from me. That's what Tronk was for. He was the bloodhound that would chase them down, because he has, it was like 80, he has 40 feet of movement and can't get exhausted. So you could do 80 feet of movement per round with a dash and catch up to people in no time at all. It was insane. Oh, teleporting? That's crazy. Yeah, I also had Misty Step. I never even considered Misty Stepping. That's cool. That would have been awesome. Anyway, let's end the stream. We're 30 minutes over. Thank you so much, everyone, for hanging out. I enjoyed talking tabletops with you and mapping and talking about plans for the build. Thank you for all the suggestions today. We got a lot of work done, a lot of neat stuff in today's build. I'd say, this pretty much is over half done now, this part of the cemetery, this portion with all the, clergy members and clerics and paladins. Thank you, everyone that participated. Our next Mapmaker Monday is next Monday, so if you want to tune in and watch this map being made in real time, every week, Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. UTC, you can tune in, watch, ask questions, whether it's related to support for your own maps, or you just want to know what we're building. You can tune in, and you can even share feedback and give suggestions towards the build. Our next stream, though, is this Wednesday. That is called Office Hours. It's held exclusively on our Discord. That's not a multi-stream, only in Discord. So if you want to tune in, you need to be a Discord member. Drop into our Discord. Make sure you RSVP to the event. That way you don't miss out on it. It's held in our, it's essentially Dungeon Alchemist HQ is the name of the channel. And we hang out there for about 2 hours, provide real-time support, get to know each other as GMs and map makers, provide guidance for people's campaigns and map making. People will help you with homebrewing, stat blocks and encounters and map ideas and stuff like that. It's a really kind of a neat space to hang out and get to know other people in the community. But that is Wednesday at 12 p.m. Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UTC. And then the next stream after that is Saturday. That is the Damn Challenge stream. We talked about that a little bit earlier, and there's been a marquee next to me the whole time. The next Damn Challenge, or the current Damn Challenge, is window shopping. So using window shopping as inspiration, make a map of any shape or size, submit it to the Damn Challenge channel in our Discord. Follow the rules pinned at the top to make sure your entry is a good entry. And then as long as you qualify, you have a chance to win a $10 Hero Forge gift card, and your map will be the first map featured on the Damn Challenge stream the following day, Saturday the 14th. So you get about 30 minutes of FaceTime, everyone in the community checking out your work. It's kind of flex your map maker muscle and let everyone know that you kicked butt. Otherwise, we'll see you, in the future. I hope you enjoyed the stream. Thank you for being here. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Dungeon Alchemist is this beautiful map making program you see in front of you, allowing you to build incredibly detailed maps that are procedural generated with our proprietary AI using AI that was developed entirely in-house. It's not like generative AI that scrapes internet information and art. All the training was done in-house entirely, developed entirely in-house. All the art was made in-house. All the training for the AI was made in-house. No public maps, art, or data was ever used to develop our AI. Moving on, This is available on Steam. Depending on your region, the price varies, so check that out if you're interested. We also offer a free demo, so you can try before you buy, see how it works on your system, kind of get an idea of how well your computer can run it. Keep in mind that the demo is only a small slice of what DA can offer. It's just one of our 12 biomes, one room type out of 70, and only a handful of objects out of 6,000 stock objects, and the over, doubling that available on the workshop. There is now 7,000 plus assets to expand your collection available on the workshop. Many are fantasy, but others breach into things like sci-fi, cyberpunk, Fallout, apocalyptic, modern, etc. So you can definitely start making maps and other aesthetics if you take advantage of the workshop. Thank you again, everyone, for being here. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. A quick shout out before we run our outro ad. Thank you, Vrukins, for the follow, and Thomas Gutman for the like. Oh, Player Adventures as well. Thank you for the follow. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We'll see you around. Back out. We're going to run a quick little Dungeon Alchemist theme ad, and then the stream will end.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone. Thank you for being here. You've been the best. Huso, by the way, you can already export your maps just fine. Just the multi-level exporting and mass exporting will be included in the next update. Just wanted to clarify, just in case you weren't sure. Thank you for being here. You guys and gals have a lovely week, and we'll see you Wednesday, hopefully. Otherwise, Mac out. Bye. Yeah, Huso, our maps export for print, or you can export to our partner Kraken War Games, who will print them as mats for you, neoprene mats, or you can do local home prints on paper of assorted sizes that we offer print for. Additionally, you can export your maps as digital files, JPEG, MP4, WebM, so we offer animated or still exports. Those maps can be put on TV tabletops for local play or projector tabletops. Alternatively, you can export the digital files for virtual tabletops, such as Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, Above VTT, and a number of other virtual tabletops that support the Universal VTT format, or UVTT. So like Arkenforge, Harpy, Encounter Plus, many different systems work fluidly with Dungeon Alchemist already. Oh, 3D export. Unfortunately, my friend, there's no plans for 3D export at this time. Hate to be the downer. But here, I'll come back in. Dungeon Alchemist was designed to build in 3D, to give you better angles and immersion for shots and stuff, but unfortunately, there's no plans for 3D exports for at least third party anytime soon. That being said, Dungeon Alchemist really wasn't designed for 3D export. Most of the assets in it are smoke and mirrors, really simple shapes with really, really beautiful texture mapping. So like this is a simple rectangle with like a beautiful texture map, like a wallpaper on top of it. Pretty much every object is like that in DA. So when you export, you wouldn't really have fine details, no detail of textures, no water, no, intricate little stonework, stuff like that. It would just be a blank kind of blobbish map covered with other blobs. Unfortunately, that's not what people want in their exports for 3D, so we'd have to gut DA and redesign it from the ground up to accommodate to that, and we just have no plans to do that anytime soon because it would go back on many of our Kickstarter promises and delay our development. I understand why people want 3D export, either for 3D VTTs, game development engine, export, so it can be put into like another game developer's map, designed for that because it simplifies things, or 3D print is the most often, suggestions around this. And sadly, we just have no plans to ditch our current roadmap to accommodate that. Now, that being said, the other day, Wim, our creator of Dungeon Alchemist and our lead art designer, one of the developers as well, he said something interesting to someone on social networking that caught my attention. So someone was asking when we'll have 3D exports, or it's lame that we're never going to offer 3D exports. And he said, and Wim often says things that are very, very, like, telling. Because he obviously knows the whole plan much more than I do. He's behind the curtain. I only get to peek behind it. And he said, we're not in the end game yet, which I didn't really question him on that because it was a public statement. But he said, we're not in the end game yet, which means to me that once we leave early access, it's very possible that we may even address some sort of, you know, option to play within 3D, within Dungeon Alchemist, or a companion app to go with it. I can't speak to 100% what he meant by that, but to me it leaves it more open-ended than no. So currently the statement I've been told to give is we have no plans for 3D export. But who knows, maybe we'll offer like a tool within DA that allows you like a DM screen mode or a game mode, you know, so it would get rid of like the interface for this stuff, or a second screen mode where it's players only. Who knows what it'll entail and when it will, you know, be available. But for now, at least, you know, it's something the devs are at least considering in the long run. Okay? Thank you everyone for being here. We'll see you next time I give a damn. Mac out. Bye.